My name is Alec Bach, and today we're going to be talking about the differences between probation and parole. This video is going to be coming along with a PowerPoint as well. So first we're going to start talking about what exactly is probation. Now the actual definition of probation is a sentence whereby a convict is released from confinement but is still under court supervision. So what that means is that someone can actually be released from most of the time jail and are, instead of just being released out into the world and doing whatever they want and possibly going back to the original lifestyle that got them in trouble in the first place, they are placed under supervision by what is called a probation officer. And the probation officer's job is to ensure that the person under probation doesn't mess up again. So let's say the reason the person's on probation is for a minor drug offense. The probation officer's job is to help ensure that they do not use drugs again or sell drugs, depending on whatever their conviction was. And if so, they can actually, probation will be taken away and they will actually have to do their jail time or their prison time that was actually sentenced. So no matter how long they were on probation, if they mess up once, then they have to completely redo their term. And instead of being on probation, they have to follow through with the jail sentence or the prison sentence, depending on what it was. Talking about how they have to possibly do their prison sentence or their jail sentence again. Probation can actually be given in lieu of a prison term or suspend a sentence. So instead, a judge can say, for a minor drug offense, for example, instead of sending you to jail for 3 months or however long, we're going to place you on probation. But if they do mess up and are caught with drugs or possession or the intent to sell, other things like that, they are going to have to actually follow through with their prison term or jail term. Moving on to parole, what exactly is parole? Parole is a conditional release of a person convicted of a crime prior to the expiration of that person's term under supervision. So, parole sort of has the same definition as probation, but they are actually two different animals. Probation officers are known for dealing with people with minor offenses or drug offenses, stuff like that, where they actually, in lieu of going to jail, are placed on probation. Parole, on the other hand, parole agents are known for dealing with convicted felons on a daily basis. The people that parole agents deal with are hardcore, straight out of prison, gang affiliation, whatever that was, they just came out of jail or prison. So, parole is when, let's say they were sentenced to 5 years for whatever reason, but on their 4th year, like right as their 4th year hits, they have the chance for parole. So they're going to go in front of a parole board and they're going to talk to them and try to explain why they should be placed on parole. They were a good person in prison, they didn't break any rules, they were a helpful inmate, and many other factors. If all this is seen well by the parole board, they will place the now parolee or the prisoner on parole. Now, the parole officer is now in charge of not only supervising them out in the community, but also checking in on them, like actual house visits, if they actually have a residence on file, and ensuring that, again, like probation, they're not using drugs. There's also terms of their parole, so there could be the possibility of, oh, you cannot hang around this certain group of people because that's the group of people that got you in trouble, or, if you have drug offenses, your conviction was a drug offense, but all your friends are using drugs, and those are the people that most likely will make you fall. One of the terms of parole may be to not have affiliation with those certain people, or if you're in a gang, no gang affiliation. all of this is to help the actual parolee not have to go back to prison, because if they do get busted, they're going to have to complete their prison term. So, dude gets out 4 years, has 1 year of parole, and let's say he messes up on the last week, he's going to have to go back and finish his prison term. Now, the differences between probation and parole, if we're looking straight at them, after explaining what each two are, they both tend to seem to be actually familiar. They both supervise out in the community. They're both trying to ensure that the either probationer or the parolee is not messing up, and so they don't actually have to go to jail or prison. But one of the differences that many people do not know is that probation is a sentencing decision made by a judge. So, like I said earlier, a judge can sentence someone to probation. Meanwhile, with parole, it's an administrative decision, meaning that, stated earlier, it's a parole board. So it's a group of people, and they pretty much have the person's life in their hands, you could say, or future, of either they're going to spend the rest of their prison sentence actually in prison in a cell, or they're actually going to be released in the community and placed under supervision by a parole officer. Parole also has an additional function. It's reintegrating a defendant into society. So having a family member actually in a current parole officer, not only are they actually supposed to supervise them out in the community, they also, if they need to go to a program, so for California, one of the more popular programs parolees are sent to is the STAR program, which is basically a drug program. It's not residential, as far as I remember, but pretty much it's to help if they are former drug users or actual current drug users who are actually trying to get off. The STAR program is meant to help them follow through with that. And also there's many other programs that not only for drug or alcohol or whatever it is, but also help them be prepared to get a job, perform interviews, write a resume. Many programs are actually helping them not only just stay clean, but actually be a contributing member to society. Because we can send them to programs all we want to not use drugs, but once we place them out there, depending on how long they were in prison, they don't know an actual trade or skill other than using drugs or breaking into cars or whatever their conviction was. So parole is to actually help them out. They also possibly give them, depending on how well they do on parole officers are told or known, but it's mainly at the parole officer's discretion to give buzz tokens or gift cards to like restaurants and such for like little rewards or incentives of like, hey, good job, you were clean for 3 months and stuff like that. Parole officers also, stated earlier, visit the parolee at their home. That is sometimes difficult depending on the parole agent, because there are parole agents that will tell the parolee, okay, I'm going to visit you on this date at this time, so be there. That has some good and bad. Good is hopefully the parolee will be there. Bad is the parolee can actually plan ahead and possibly hide contraband, guns, stuff they're not supposed to have, or actually try and get clean. There are also parole agents that will surprise visit the parolee, and with that, it's mainly you're trying to catch them in what they were doing, so you could possibly catch them dirty and pretty much catch them with anything they're not supposed to have. But overall, looking at probation and parole, they, on the surface, possibly look familiar because many people say that they are well-paid babysitters. It looks like they're babysitters, but probation and parole do have their slight differences. They're both trying to help people out, but parole appears it has more responsibilities or more things they have to do. And this is the PowerPoint and video. Thank you very much.